Welcome back to the channel. Today you're going to be watching the rear axle go into the tractor, and we'll be installing the bull gear as well. So stay tuned.
Alright, I'm going to be putting in the final drive gear and the right axle. Those axles had to be pressed out from the inside, right here inside the rear end housing. Had to push them out, press them out, and they also got to be pressed back in. So I'm in the process of making a pusher similar to what they're showing in the service manual to push those back in. So waiting on a couple pieces of all thread to come in, and then I'll be able to build that and actually press it in. But for right now, I'll be able to get the axle in and hopefully started on that final drive gear that's hanging. And that thing's extremely heavy as well, so I'm going to use my cherry picker to lift it up and set it inside the housing, and then we'll get that stuff assembled. Alright, so here's my inside bearing on that axle, so kind of clean it up just a little bit here. But it's got to come down on the inside like this and then press against this inner housing back in here. And holding that thing in place is going to be the hard part, because you can't slide it in once that final drive gear is in there. Just kind of inspecting it because I'm not replacing this either, so I want to make sure there's no pitting anywhere on there. Everything looks pretty good shape. Got a pretty strong magnet. I'm going to try to set that in there and let that magnet hold this thing in place here. We'll see if that's going to work or not. Actually, it's going to work perfectly. It's setting right where it needs to be. So that'll do the trick there. See if I can show you what I'm talking about. There's the magnet and the bearing sitting in there. And if we look down in here in the housing, right there's the bearing. You have to access it through the brake opening. Right down in here. You can see it sitting there. So that final drive gear will just drop in, and there's the housing and the axle. Then we'll have it pointed through the, try to get in here where you can see it. Right through there. You can see that bearing and the, actually see all the way through to the other side, but. And then here's the axle. So the bearing I've got in there will actually end up getting pressed on right here. And then this gear here will be up against or through the final drive gear. And that bearing there will be your outer axle bearing. There will be a seal, and then of course that's sticking out of the housing. So let's get that thing dropped back down in there. Should be in pretty good shape now. Trying to get this set back up where we can see. Now the key to this is getting that thing lined up just right. Alright, I'm going to give you the view looking in the axle housing. Right here, got to get that set up or drop down in there just right so that we can see. We should be able to see light from the other side once that's right in position there. So. I'll be easing this down until we get where we need to be. Alright, I'm actually just a smidgen low, which isn't any big deal. No big deal. Alright, should be pretty close. I'll start slide the axle in there, and hopefully we can get it to line up through the final drive gear and over to where that bearing is. And alright, I'm going to grab this axle and hopefully I don't drop it. Alright. Alright, I'm already back to the final drive gear. So now we got to thread that thing through there. Believe it or not, I've got it threaded. Got it threaded in there. So now I've got to get it set up just right to hit that inner bearing back in here that I've got my magnet on. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that axle's coming through to get it lined right up with that. Of course, there's a bearing on the outside. Now it's set up a little bit differently. The race is actually installed from the outside in, which is nice. Otherwise, you'd have to try to get that thing pulled out, and it wouldn't be too easy to do. It just gets pressed out whenever you push it out from the inside. So I'm going to slide something on the bottom side of that bearing just to protect it against the axle housing. Alright, I'm going to lift up the axle and put this up underneath there just to give it a little protection. Alright, I'm going to give you the view of inside. There's the axle, so I just got to get that lifted up with the cherry picker into position, and then that thing will be ready to actually press in. Once it gets started, I'm not so sure you couldn't just use a sledgehammer on the outer part of the axle and just tap it in, but the service manual showing using that pusher puller. So that's what I was going to make. So we'll give this a shot and we'll see what it does. Try to get this position where you can see it. And I got my little boy Deacon, he's here. He's going to help me get this thing lined up. Alright, so still need to move up quite a bit. Or over. Let's see, it's kind of hard to see. You guys got a good angle. Deacon, can you go push down on that to raise the axle up for me? Down. Just do it real slow, and I'll tell you when to stop. Keep going. And stop. Alright. Let's got it lined up pretty good. Yeah, now we're slid right in where we need to be. I'm going to get a floor jack on the outside here. I'm going to support this axle up because we got to center this up, and I'm just going to tap it. I think maybe I'll get that thing to slide right through that inner bearing. So all I'm going to do is just support the axle here. I'll lift it up off of the housing here where I think it should be. Looks about like that right there. Make sure we're still in the bearing back here. It looks like we are. Yeah, it's started coming in pretty easy. So let's see if I can get you in view of that.
I'll turn it a little. It's showing both parts now.
Okay, good job. Can you tell me when this inside piece comes to the outer edge there?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. There?
Yeah, look.
Pretty close. Okay.
Is that heavy?
Yeah. All right, we're real close to where we need to be. There's a cap that goes on the end of the axle that it'll look like this. Here's the other one. It'll be this right here, and it's got a dowel pin right there as well. It'll tighten down. It should help draw that in as well. I gotta make sure that it's not that it doesn't suck the bearing and the race out of the place right here. We'll pull the, that's my magnet that I had. Thing's really strong, so yeah, we're just about where we need to be. Probably come in a little bit more. Now on the outside edge here, I got that supported, so we're not, the bearing's just kind of laying in there. So we'll get that race slid over, and that will help support that, and then we can get it on into position.
Please hit like and subscribe and leave a comment below. And make sure you turn on your notification bell so that each time a new video is posted, you'll be notified.